a third of the world are Muslim. That's a crazy statistic. Okay, how many of them are millionaires and billionaires?
Boom. Welcome to the Modern Muslim Man podcast. This is Coach Munir. I'm here with Mr. Osama Musa, and I am honored to have this guy here today. He is the founder and owner of Muslim Ameer, which is an amazing company that helps Muslims to build and scale their businesses. And I'm really excited to have him here today to talk about business, talk about Islam, talk about fitness. This guy's had great conversations with me about squats, nutrition, other things inside of the DMs. So I know that he's living in integrity with the modern Muslim man's way, and I'm honored to have him here today. So Osama, how are you doing today, bro?
Alhamdulillah. Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh. It's an absolute honor and privilege to be here on your podcast and your show. And alhamdulillah, I can't wait to share my knowledge and my wisdom with the ummah and the fellow Muslims. It's what I do at Muslim Ameer. And it's amazing to be on a platform where I can reach more Muslims, alhamdulillah. So jazakallah khair for the opportunity.
Well, 100%. I'm grateful to have you here as well, alhamdulillah. So let's dive into it, man. How long ago did you start Muslim Ameer, and what motivated you to start this, business for Muslims?
Okay, so it was actually just after Ramadan in 2021. So obviously going into lockdown, I had an events company prior, which you can actually see up there. And obviously going into lockdown and stuff, we actually stopped just before lockdown. We put a pause on the business. Just before lockdown, we wanted to re-strategize and stuff. So, and then lockdown happened, and obviously we closed the company down, got rid of all our staff and things like that. And then during lockdown, I started learning new things, because you have so much time on your hands, other than playing Warzone with the boys, that got boring. And then you started doing self-education and personal development. And I believe that lockdown was a great opportunity. You have a chance and a choice during lockdown. You could have either utilized that opportunity and developed yourself further. It's the first time in our lives that we had that much time to spare, because you didn't have to leave the house. If you worked, you could work from home. A lot of us in the UK were actually on sort of government schemes where we didn't actually have to work, because all business was pretty much closed. So it was a great opportunity. And from there, I just started learning a load of different things, excelling in my sales and marketing knowledge, in leadership stuff. And then one thing led to another. And I ended up joining a coaching program. And the coach, me and him, were just sat down. He was like, okay, cool. Like, what are you passionate about? What experience have you got and stuff like that? And I was actually going to go down the events route of like educating people on events, how to run a successful events company, stuff like that. And then just through talking, he was like, listen, man, you sound like you've got great leadership knowledge. And I think that will be more relevant, because you want to work with Muslims. That might be more where your direction should go. And I was like, you know what, that makes so much more sense, because I love serving the ummah. And I actually, just from me talking to him, I was like, I have a passion to serve the ummah as well. And, events, yeah, they're great and stuff, but a lot of events kind of fall between the borderline of halal and haram and music and non-music and free mixing and stuff anyway. And that's why I actually rebranded my events company 3 times. And I've had to stop so many times with my events companies, because every time you get away from haram, and then all of a sudden you get a client, is corporate client, wants, certain things, and you're like, oh, as much as you want to get away with it or away from it, you couldn't. So, and then, I was kind of just like thinking about it. And then, subhanallah, everything happens for a reason. There was a lot of things that was happening where I didn't realize this is the direction I was heading. So I signed up to a mastermind, a 3-day mastermind at the time. And it was to do with, online coaching and just consulting and stuff like that. And it's funny, because during the mastermind, half the stuff they talked about, I had no clue what they were talking about. And it wasn't relevant for me, because at the time I was like, I'm going to be doing event stuff. But then, it was after that I signed up to a coach. And then after that, I realized I was going to do leadership consulting and business consulting and leadership coaching. And then straight after Ramadan, I had the whole of Ramadan off. I was literally in the masjid like 24/7, even done i'tikaf, alhamdulillah, and stuff like that. And I had all that time just sat down and, to just be with Allah and just think about life. I actually left my mobile device at home, literally had no electronic, nothing for 10 days. It was the most amazing experience, cut off from the world. And then I was like, cool, this is what I'm going to do. As soon as I come out of Ramadan, I left all my jobs that I had part-time or any other. I was like, I'm going full-time with my business. And alhamdulillah, we started officially in May. And it's been a journey, loads of challenges along the way, of course, and we're here now. And because of this journey, I was blessed and honored to meet you along the way, and now on your podcast. So it's great.
Alhamdulillah. Well, subhanAllah, that's quite a journey, and it's crazy because it kind of reminds me of how I ended up doing this, because originally I was just like, okay, great, I need to find a niche for my ads because I was doing well organically with just fitness. And I've tried many niches through ads, and I've been thinking about the Muslim thing for a long time. And my CMO kind of pushed me to do it. So at first I just started putting out the message like, okay, be in integrity with your body as a Muslim. But then as I started talking about integrity, I said, well, where in my life am I having blind spots with my own Islam, or am I not being 100% integrity with myself? And so I started to unfollow certain pages on Instagram. I started to disengage with certain people and habits, and started to build new habits like, my prayers and a number of other things that make you a better Muslim, but also make you better at business. And you've probably noticed this. The more on point you are with your prayers, when you don't procrastinate your prayers, when you pray in that first third of the window, or as soon as it's prayer time, you procrastinate less in business, and it just makes you a better businessman. It makes you eat healthier. It makes you fitter, makes you more proactive in general, which means it's serving you in the dunya, not just in the akhirah, which obviously the akhirah is more important. But a lot of us, the initial entry point of buy-in is how's it going to benefit us in the dunya. So it's a powerful thing. But I think that's going to be a theme today, inshallah, is just like how different best practices in business are actually very Islamic. And that's part of what I like about your messaging with Muslim Emir, where it's like, okay, be a leader, be a Muslim man, and how does that translate to other areas of your life? So one thing I'm really curious about is, what are the central pillars of your program, Muslim Emir? What are kind of the, I suppose, umbrellas or topics or main areas of discussion that you serve your clients with, and, for the benefit of our listeners?
Okay, so I have different programs that serve different people. My main target audience, if you like, is business owners with 10 to 50 employees that are looking to develop and scale their business and empower their leadership teams. But also through just my content, I like to kind of inspire and influence other Muslims to take pride in being a Muslim, to understand their deen and how it can integrate with the dunya. And like you just mentioned, it was very important in terms of your disciplined habits with the prayers. Like for me, if I wake up early, which I always try and do, and I try and do, if you wake up early and just before Fajr, you can do your Qiyam Layl, which is known outside of the Fard prayer as the most, the best prayer to make. And then you go into Fajr, you can do your Sunnah prayers in peace. You can read your Quran, and as the it's an ayah in the Quran, I believe, and or a hadith where the recitation of the Quran in the morning is recorded, and then you go pray at the masjid, pray Fajr at the masjid, and then from there to the gym. So all of a sudden, your biggest things that you will need to get done in the morning, you've done them by the time Fajr is finished, because you've already been to the gym before sunrise. You've unless you want to stay in the masjid and do stay to masjid till sunrise and then go to the gym. But at the moment, it's winter, so sunrise is 8:15. So realistically, you're gonna go masjid and go straight to the gym, and then you come back and you're so ready for work. There's no big stresses of what's left to do today, But in terms of the pillars on the program, what we do, so we mainly work on stuff like mindset, habits. A lot of my clients, if they're startups or people that are looking to start a business, we help them build a business through the Emir Business Builder or other avenues. And then we work on your organization, your productivity, your time management. And for certain clients, they need sales and marketing. We do that. And then obviously other clients need their leadership stuff. But one-to-one, I mainly do business consulting, where I come in, I look at your business, I break it down, and I identify holes in the business that where people are sitting on money they don't even know they're sitting on. Just because they're making profit, they're like, I'm making money. I had a conversation just today with a lead, and he was like, listen, I've been in business a long time. I don't know how you're going to be able to benefit me. And I was like, listen, I had a client just the other day say the same thing. He's like, I'm making 10k profit, 50k profit a month, whatever it is, and I can't see any holes in the business. And I came in and I showed them we can 3-4x your business without any extra costs, because there's always money to be made. But what I try and do with a lot of my content and my material on my programs is I always integrate the deen with it, because the deen has left nothing for us unturned. Literally everything is there, like to the extent of how to cleanse yourself. from the bathroom. Like there's nothing there that is not for us as Muslims that we can use. And when it comes to business, a lot of Muslims, and this is something that I want to change in the ummah, inshallah I will be able to, is if you look at the numbers here in the UK, for example, I think we make up like, let's say 30% of the population Muslims, or maybe less, maybe that's a high figure. Let's say 10%, just for argument's sake. These are not factual figures, but the factual figure of that is 60% of Muslims, of whatever the actual figure of Muslims in the UK is, are in poverty or poverty-stricken areas. And it makes you wonder, why are we like this? Let's look at Muslims globally. We make up a third of the world. A third of the world are Muslim. That's a crazy statistic. Okay, how many of them are millionaires and billionaires? Why is that? Is it a mental thing? Is it a state of mindset? Is it environment? I understand a lot of us come from third world countries, but when the deen was at its highest, the best era of Islam, we were the founders of science, or had a big part to play in science, in maths, in being successful. If we look at the Sahaba, a lot of them were wealthy, a lot of them were tradesmen, traders. If they weren't traders, they were the best in the battlefield. They were the best in all areas. They excelled in everything they did. So why are we not excelling? And it comes back down to the individual and the way you're raised. Like I come from a poor background, so if I'm raised in an environment where I'm just surrounded by poor people, and everyone has that poor mindset, like I'm from Palestine, for example, so we're like, oh, we're the victim, right? But one of my inspirations was my mother. She is a self-employed entrepreneur as well, and her journey was incredible. And my father, on the other hand, was quite different. He was more, he was a bit older, and he played the victim card, let's say. So if you grow up in a household where you have that environment, then that would make sense why you don't want to excel in life. But also, this is what confuses me. Is on the other hand, we know that most, if not all, Muslim households prioritize education. They do, and we know that. I mean, Asians, as either doctor or something to do with the medicine field. Arabs is engineering. All the different. I know a lot of Africans focus on law. So, and all my Muslim friends at university are all studying these, what we'd call respected degrees, and alhamdulillah. But then you ask yourself, okay, so why are we not going far? What is going on here? And this is where I think it comes down to our leadership. And you got to remember, as Muslims, we're already up against the wall. Because you're a Muslim and you have most of us have the name Muhammad in our name somewhere, okay, especially Asians, mashallah. Bangladeshis have Muhammad, and every single Bangladeshi has Muhammad in his name. So that's going to create an environment for you at work, especially when you're working in the West, where, or even back home now, if you're Muslim and you're someone who practices your religion, it's very difficult for you. So, it's trying to instill that mindset of, be proud of who you are, be proud of your religion. Say it clearly. I am a Muslim. I'm proud to be Muslim. And because I'm Muslim, I'm going to be successful. And okay, your success is relative and subjective. Your idea of success and my idea of success are two different things. But it just means that if you're trying your best and giving it your all, Allah will bless you in more ways than you can know and you can think of.
SubhanAllah. And it's huge because, first off, there's a lot of good points you addressed there. But yeah, I mean, I think it's very Islamic to be successful, because I think a lot of Muslims, including my parents, because mashallah, my parents both have pretty well-paying jobs, right? So in that sense, they've leveled themselves up and achieved financial success, alhamdulillah. But their money mindset when it comes to things like business, it's not the worst, but it's also not the best per se. And I think a lot of Muslims subscribe to the idea that there's virtue in poverty, and certainly there's virtue in humility, and there's virtue in generosity, and there's virtue in avoiding the temptation of greed and materialism. However, that doesn't mean we need to be poor. In fact, when we have money, it gives us the opportunity to serve more people at a higher level. For instance, if I'm making, 30,000 a year, let's say, would be kind of the average in the US, versus I'm making, 30 million per year. Well, with 30 million per year, I could go be materialistic and flex on social media, like what the perception of rich people would be, but that's not the Islamic way to utilize that wealth. there's so many people you can serve. There are people overseas who are starving who you can serve, both Muslim and non-Muslim. You can serve the Ummah, you can create schools, masjids. There's so many things you can do with that enhanced success. And so I think that there's definitely a lot of virtue in that as long as your intentions are pure. That's the beautiful thing about having a halal business or a business that serves people, whether Muslim or non-Muslim, is that your wealth is a byproduct of the value you provide and the people you serve. And I think that's a powerful principle that we can install into our mindsets as Muslims, where it's like, okay, great. Instead of playing the victim card, like a lot of people in the poverty mindset, both Muslim and non-Muslim do, how do we put ourselves in an empowered mindset that allows us to serve other people? And as a byproduct of that, achieve more financial wealth so we can give more zakat, so we can serve more people, so we can scale our business to help more people further. And I think that that's a nice little paradigm shift that I've had within myself in my own journey in entrepreneurship to overcome money mindset issues and get myself in a position where I can be a successful business owner, alhamdulillah. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great points you touched there. I love the routine of going to the masjid and praying Fajr and then going to the gym right after. I'm actually going to try that, inshallah. I have a home gym here in LA, but when I move to San Diego in a couple of weeks, that's going to be a great routine, inshallah. It's like such a great... Sorry?
Yeah, let me know how it goes.
Oh, inshallah, I will. Yeah, I think it's going to be great because, you know, it really gets you into state. And I think that's another benefit of prayer in the dunya, is it gets you into state. Because think about it. When you calm yourself down, you stop what you're doing, you put yourself in a proactive, present mindset, you express gratitude to Allah, you humble yourself, and then you pray to Allah to give you blessing in the next thing that you do. It helps you to focus on your goals. It helps you to stay calm. It helps you to be focused on the highest priority. And then the other powerful thing is, a lot of us, when we act in self-interest, it's great. There's nothing wrong with acting in your own best self-interest or the self-interest of others. But when you act to please Allah and do what is best for the greater good, you take even greater action at a higher level and you feel more morally aligned with it. And you're more in congruence with the truth and in integrity with yourself and what is best. And I think that just that combination of things, even if it doesn't give you instant gratification, because I think a lot of us have a temptation to sometimes, for instance, if you kept doing the events company, even when, you know, a corporate client wanted alcohol there or something, you would have done it and you would have made money, but inside you wouldn't have felt that same alignment you feel now with serving Muslims. And then the last point I want to touch on that you just talked about was just being proud of being Muslim. You know, ever since I started promoting the modern Muslim man, and just being more religious myself, as it forced me to take a look at myself, alhamdulillah. I've started sharing that with a lot of my non-Muslim friends who I've had to either set boundaries with or set distance with. And I was actually very surprised that a lot of my non-Muslim friends, in fact, the vast majority, like all but one, were incredibly supportive and honored the fact that I'm getting back in touch with my faith. And I realized that a lot of my friends already are religious Christians who I respect a lot. And we had never really had a conversation about faith, but there are so many similarities. And so it creates a deeper connection. So I think, you know, to be proud of being a Muslim and to set that example of being a successful, positive, really great-minded Muslim leader, and also being in good shape, being at peace with yourself. Like, I mean, I'm sure anybody watching this can relate. Some Muslims, you talk to them, they have this deep inner peace that is just so great to be around. And I think that's what it means to be a Muslim at the highest level, is to have that inner peace and integrity with yourself. Because when you have that, think of the example you show to other people where, you know, like before 9/11, if you would tell people you're Muslim, you're like, wow, like there's a lot of virtue. But then after 9/11, our image got stained. But I think bringing that back and just showing people like, yes, I'm a proud Muslim, and this is what it means to be Muslim, is to be successful, to be healthy, to be a great-minded person, and to be a great presence to be around, I think is a form of just passive dawah by just being a high-quality person. So a lot of things to unpackage there, but I don't know if you want to dive into any of those topics, or there was any other business topics you want to dive into, but I guess when it comes to character, or you know, what topic did you want to dive into there?
No, I just wanted to quickly, because you mentioned 9/11. The irony on that point is that there was more reverts after that incident. Ironically, a lot of Muslims became shy of their religion after that incident, and ironically, a lot of non-Muslims became Muslim because they went away and researched the religion, and they were like, "What? Let's look into this."
Right.
Whereas us Muslims that are already Muslim were like, "Oh my God!" Like, as you just said, our name may be tarnished now, or the look on Muslims is going to change. And we became shy and we felt small. Just like the other day, actually, we were just playing football. And we were playing in an environment where we're surrounded by many football pitches. And I went to do the adhan. So I asked my friend to do the adhan. And he went away to the corner to do it. I said, why are you going over there to do it? Do it here. And he came back and he was like, he didn't feel confident, or there was a reason why he didn't want to do it there. So I went and did it. And then after we prayed, I said to him, why didn't you want to do the adhan here? Why did you want to go to the corner? He said, I don't want to disrupt those around us that are non-Muslim on the other pitches. And I said, in fact, why we should do the adhan here loudly and proudly is to give them that indirect dawah, because they're going to look and say, what are these guys doing? And then they'll see us go pray pleasantly in the corner. So these guys might have an opinion of Islam. They don't know what Muslims do and why they call for the prayer or how they pray, right? But then they see it firsthand and they're like, oh, they're just normal guys playing football. You wouldn't even think they're Muslim. Like, we don't look Muslim. We're on a football pitch dressed like them. And all of a sudden we're going to pray. So, I just wanted to kind of go off that point. And one more thing I also wanted to remind everybody. The greatest leader ever to walk the planet or to be in the universe is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our prophet, our beloved prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So we all have these, role models and inspirations like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and, sports stars, Michael Jordan, Steven Gerrard, or whoever it is that you guys all look up to, and we all look up to them, right? But how many of us actually look up to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam and take inspiration from him and his story and the Sahaba? How many of us do that? And this is something that I think is what's missing in the ummah as well. How many of us know the story of the Prophet ﷺ? How many of us know about his life? Because one of the, if I told you, or let me ask you a question, who's your inspiration in your industry? Like, who do you look up to? Who would you say?
There's a handful. There's a lot of people. I mean, who inspires me? Probably my past mentor, Lynn. He's probably one of my biggest inspirations as far as the business side of things.
Okay. Oh, okay. I meant like someone famous. So is he famous?
Not really.
Arnold Schwarzenegger maybe, or someone who's in bodybuilding.
Yeah. Like Arnold's definitely.
Cool. So how much, when you were younger, looking up to him, did you research his life, or did you know about him as he was your inspiration?
I definitely watched a lot of YouTube videos and read his bio and stuff like that. So yeah.
And then when we ask young Muslims, or not even young, just general Muslims, how much do you know about the Prophet ﷺ? They're like, oh, I don't know. How many children did he have? When was he born? When did his parents die? Who was he raised with? Just simple questions like that, let alone the other, things. So then this tells you how much do you actually know about your religion? How can you fall in love with your religion or follow the best leader ever if you don't even know about him? And this isn't us saying he's the best leader, because obviously to Muslims, we in our deen, we should love him more than we love ourselves. We should love him more than we love our mother. You should love Allah first, love the Prophet second, and then your family and yourself. How much do we know about him? And then this also affects us when it comes to just, our day-to-day practice. Because when we got up and pray now, I'm praying to Allah. I know I need to pray 5 times a day. Fantastic. But the greatest leader of them all, his leadership was so good. 1400 years later, we are believing in what he told us to believe. If that's not the best kind of leadership you've ever seen, I don't know what is, right? He's inspiring me 1400 years later. Not only that, Harvard did a research, or they done some research on it wasn't a research, what's the word for it? They done a poll or a sort of a thing where a survey kind of thing, where they were like, let's see who was the greatest leader that's ever lived, right? And this wasn't Muslims doing, this was non-Muslims. And number one was the Prophet ﷺ, because he covered all areas of life. He was a statesman, he was a warrior, he was a husband, he was, all types of things he covered. He was political, he'd done all of it. He'd done all of it, and he'd done it well. So I just wanted to kind of put that in there for everybody to, if you don't know enough, go out there and research. There's Seerah of the Prophet ﷺ by Yasir Qadi, and there's other speakers that cover the Seerah of the Prophet, which is the life of the Prophet ﷺ. So then you can just get to know, the virtues that he went through, the hardship he went through, because also one of the biggest inspirations you could take from his story, and this will resonate with all of us, is the hardships. Because we all believe that we go through hardships, and we all do go through hardships. When you understand the hardships that this man went through as a human being, because sometimes when we think of the Prophet, we feel like he's not even human, right? He's like a level above us, right? But he was a human. And the hardship he went through will inspire you to understand that, wow, if this man went through this much hardship and he's the most beloved, I can survive what I'm going through right now. And I just wanted to kind of just put that in there just for everybody else, because we all go through SHIT. So like, we need to just keeping it PG for the viewers.
100%. That's crazy. This is why I'm so glad to have you on this podcast, because already you've given me so much, and I'm sure the audience is going to get these benefits as well. I mean, I'm actually writing things down. I'm like muting myself so I can take notes, because like this is great. So alhamdulillah, thank you so far for everything you've shared. And a couple things you've already inspired me to do is start to find more audiobooks of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because obviously there's a lot to learn there about like leadership, about overcoming hardship, and just like putting things in perspective. Because I think that kind of ties in what we talked about before with like helping Muslims to have a more successful mindset, especially the 60% of us that are in poverty in the UK. And I'm sure, I mean, I remember in the US, I think 80% of us in the US make less than six figures, which doesn't mean poverty, but obviously, we should all be making six figures, inshallah. So, and especially actually the interesting thing, because, I was doing my research on, American Muslims, and actually the American Muslims who make the least money are single American born Muslims, as opposed to foreign born married Muslims make the most, alhamdulillah. And so it's quite interesting. And I think that, I think a big struggle, and this is probably similar in the UK with a lot of like single young Muslims, is that they kind of grow up in a culture where they feel shy about their Islam for the reasons we discussed before. And also just with secularism, having ideologies like, oh, you can't drink and blah, blah, blah. That's boring. You're missing out. Oh, you can't eat bacon. You're missing out. I've heard that a million times. And, in the past, I definitely did feel restricted, where it's like, yeah, I have to pray all the time and like all this stuff. It's a hard religion. I mean, which is cool because it builds discipline. I can appreciate that now. But, now if people say, oh, you're missing out, what I feel for them is, I appreciate what you're saying and I see your perspective and I honor your perspective. But at the same time, you're missing out on the fulfillment and the alignment and the congruence and the meaning that comes from being Muslim. But yeah, just taking it back though, I mean, I think that with sort of the mindset around like success, a lot of us do get trapped in that victim mindset. Both Muslim and non-Muslim. I think it's just, it's a part of the human experience. And, there are other videos we've done where we talk about that. But I think that when you can read the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, just like you had said, and if he was the most beloved and he still went through different challenges that, are sometimes even greater than the challenges that we face just in our little lives in the first world, where we're sitting there complaining on our smartphone about how depressed we are. It's like, no, let's get some perspective shift here. There's a lot of things that a lot of people have been through that you can get through as well, where you don't have to be a victim, and the power is in your hands through the grace of Allah to change that and to put your trust in Allah to help you change that. Like, obviously you got to take action. You can't just sit there and pray and not take action and hope that Allah throws money at you from the sky, but you can pray that the actions you take are effective and have faith through your failures to fail forward and problem solve and learn until you achieve the success of the result that you're after. And that can apply to fitness. It can apply to looking for a partner in marriage if you're a single Muslim, or to bettering your marriage if you're a married Muslim who is currently struggling in your marriage for various factors that many of our Muslim fathers and husbands struggle with. And in addition to that, obviously it can help you in your financial situation. So that's powerful. And after this, or even on this, in fact, I might as well ask you here, I'm a big fan of audiobooks. Are there any audiobooks on the Prophet or on Islam you think are beneficial for an entrepreneurial Muslim?
Well, like I said, the Yasir Qadi series of the Seerah of the Prophet is actually on YouTube. So you can plug that in as an audio or visual, if you like visual. Mm-hmm. And for me personally, obviously, one of the challenges that we face is that there are different sects within Islam. And what we want to aspire to make sure is that we follow the Prophet, peace be upon him, upon as close as possible without all the noise. So the best way to do that is to study his life directly, the Sahaba and the Ahadith that are about. So for audiobooks, I do not know. I'm not going to sit here and say that I do know, because I'm not actually a fan of audiobooks myself. I prefer reading direct. But yeah, I mean, in terms of general books that you can read, obviously there's the books of Bukhari and Muslim, which are the hadith books, just to understand the certain things within Islam. And I would actually just say start off by reading the Quran in a language you understand, because one of the things as well that we have is that many of us, unfortunately, We know how to read Arabic, but we don't understand Arabic. So you could probably sit down and read the whole Quran, and probably better than me. But then if I said to you, what did you just read? You would say, I don't know really, you know? So if I told you, here, read a book in Japanese, you're going to learn a lot. You wouldn't read it. You'd be like, I don't know, I don't understand Japanese. Why am I going to read it? Okay, yes, I can read the language, but I don't understand it. Why am I going to read it? It's the same thing with the Quran. Why are we reading something? Some of us read it 12 times a month, 12 times a year. Every month, people are completing it. And you ask them, what is it teaching you? What is it telling you? We don't know. So from that front, you know, there's, like I said, for audio, you can watch the Yasir Qadi series on the Seerah of the Prophet. There's also certain videos in terms of the Aqidah, understanding Tawheed, which is the oneness of Allah, and understanding, you know, of how to worship Allah and what it means to believe in the monotheistic belief with Allah. So in terms of those, they're really good, inshallah.
Wow. Okay, great. Yeah, I think definitely reading Quran in English, because, you know, when I was a kid, obviously I learned how to read Arabic, and then I had a Quran teacher, and I would read Quran, then we would read the English translation. But I was always kind of checked out because I was a kid. I was like, all right, let me just get back to playing. And I think, you know, and I think that's a beautiful thing too. Like, a lot of us were brought up in Islam, and then a lot of us go through a period where maybe we do get drawn into the temptations of the West, or you know, not, or you know, kind of just finding our own path. And sometimes, you know, the things that Allah puts in our life that are our greatest blessings are our mistakes and our shortcomings, because they teach us a lesson. Because any road that is incongruent with the road that has been, you know, given to us as far as Islam is going to lead to emptiness and unhappiness. Even if you have the material success, you can have that success, but then you'll see that you feel empty because it's not being done either in an honorable way, or you're not living your life in congruence with Islam. And so then when you feel that lack of fulfillment, and you face enough pain, that your reason to want to find that fulfillment and that happiness and that true deep fulfillment within yourself becomes greater than the resistance, which is the temptations that we face in modern society. And that's when we come back to Islam. At least that was my experience. And I think a lot of Muslims can relate with that. And I think it's really a blessing. So, you know, just tying it back in, I think a great step for me after this that I'm already learning and aspiring for is to read the Quran in English, just fully, just not even read the Arabic right now, and just read the English, because my intention is now different. My intention is no longer to say, okay, cool, I checked off that box, I'm Muslim, great, good deeds, whatever. Which, you know, as long as you're still doing that for the sake of Allah, you still, in my opinion, will get good deeds for it. I mean, only Allah knows. But to actually go in it with the intention of, okay, I want to learn something that's going to help me better my life and have better character. I think going in with that intention is extremely powerful, which is, you know, one of our intentions with this podcast is to share those character virtues that we've learned along the journey with you guys. And so that's powerful. And then also some of the other things you mentioned. Man, this is what I love about this podcast, is whenever I bring, you know, men like you on, I learn a lot. And so if I'm learning a lot, I can only imagine what some of our viewers will learn, inshallah, as well. But yeah, I mean, I think a good follow-up question to that is, what are some of your greatest revelations or principles that you've learned from the different materials that you've read?
I think two things mainly. Number one, as you said, we all live a life where we grow up a certain way, and then life can take you through a journey, and then you come back to where you started off. And one of the biggest things is when I came back and I self-studied the religion and self-taught myself about the religion. And when I say self-taught, I didn't sit down and teach myself. I obviously learned from scholars. And I always say, pay attention to the scholars that you listen to, because I know I mentioned Yasir Qadi earlier. There is some controversy around him. I only mentioned the seerah of the Prophet from him is really good. Other stuff to do with him does have some controversy around it. And there are other lecturers that you should be aware of in terms of what's their true aqeedah and what are they trying to teach. Because before I get sidetracked into the tangent, I just want to make this point. You need to make sure that Islam has clear rules and clear boundaries that Allah's put in place. We can't mess with those. So if someone's preaching certain things for certain communities or for certain ways of life just to fit in as a modern day Muslim, we need to be aware of that, because that doesn't come into the deen. Because our deen tells us clearly what is allowed, what is halal and what is haram, and what we should do to stay away from and what we should pay attention to. So I just wanted to make that very clear. But going back to my point is, when I learned simple things about the deen, like smiling is charity, little things like that about the deen, you know, learning to love Allah. Like I learned from myself within what I was, you know, reading and just a lot of stuff that I actually, when I was younger, I didn't understand the, you know, Allah, or I was just scared. You know, if you didn't pray, you're going to hell. You didn't pray, you're going to hell. That's all you heard. You pray, you're going to hell. If you don't pray, you're going to hell. What happened to me as an adult is when I went back to the religion, I grew to love it in a crazy way. Like, wow, you know, you love Allah. You know, there's so much to love about the religion. Why are we not taught this? You know, and that's the first revelation, is I can actually love the deen so much. I love Allah so much. I love the relationship I have with my religion so much. And yes, obviously it's challenging at times. You know, praying 5 times a day to a lot of us may be challenging. But if you were to ask somebody who meditates, how much do you enjoy meditation? They're like, I wouldn't miss it. I meditate in the morning, I meditate in the evening. Why? Because when they meditate, they, you know, block off everything. And that's their time to just sit down and whatever, right? Connect spiritually with, you know, a higher being or whatever they do. Well, prayer to us is like meditation, right? And there's many scientific proofs now and benefits of prayer. So, you know, these things are important. But the second thing for me is, this is really important for all of our viewers and all of our listeners that's going to listen to this podcast. And I always say this to the youth and to anybody who's Muslim. Allah says very clearly that he forgives all sins bar one, and that's shirk. So as long as you're not committing any, believing that there's any partners with Allah, and that you have a monotheistic belief that there is only one God, and that is Allah, all your other sins can be forgiven. So that was a big thing for me, because living in the West, you know, you have friends that go out drinking, clubbing, smoking, they have girlfriends, they do this, they do that. And one of my biggest inspirations for them and for myself and for anybody is, listen, doesn't matter if you're doing all of those things. Because as long as you're praying, as long as you're coming back to the deen, as long as you're putting in effort, then Allah will forgive. And, you know, there's, I'm not too sure if it's a hadith or an ayah, but Allah's created us to repent. To repent, you know, if you're the perfect Muslim and you never sin, that's impossible. You know, Allah, I think it's an ayah where Allah tells us that the most beloved to him are those that keep repenting, right? And this doesn't mean go and keep making the same sins, but it means have trust that it's okay. It's okay to fall off. It's okay to fall in, you know, if you do something. I'm not saying go and do it, but I'm saying if you do it, don't worry, don't be hard on yourself. You know, and that was a really big thing for me, because, you know, what happens to us, and this is the shaitan playing with us, is that when we start falling into some sins, and, you know, sins always, you start small and then they get bigger and bigger and bigger and whatever. One of the things that really stuck with me was, wow, like I can always come back. You know, it's not like I'm disowned or cut off by Allah the minute I go and disobey. Like, imagine if somebody, and, you know, you'll hear a lot of the shuyukh use this example. Imagine if somebody, like, I don't know, slapped you, okay? And they said, sorry, I forgive you. They slapped you again. They said, sorry, okay, I'll forgive you this time. They slap you a third time. You're like, hey, buddy, you know, it's the third time you slapped me. What's going on, right? No, Allah, and you as humans, we run out of patience and we won't forgive anymore. And at some point, you're probably going to turn around and slap him back. But Allah will just keep forgiving you. Every time you come back, he'll forgive you. And he open his doors and open his arms for forgiveness. But like I said, you have to have sincere intention that, you know, you want to stop that sin, and you want to get away from it. And just to share a personal story of mine, you know, without exposing myself, because Muslims, we shouldn't expose ourselves. But there are some sins that you may commit that take 2, 3, 4 years to overcome, because these are habits. You know, these are habits that, you know, you've fallen into. And all habits, the beautiful thing about habits is they can be unlearned. Anything you learn can be unlearned within your habits, right? But there are certain habits that take you a long time, especially when it comes to religious stuff. So for example, let's say somebody has a girlfriend. He's been with his girlfriend 3 years, and now he wants to become a more practicing Muslim. He's going to have a hard time, because he's like, on one hand, I'm not trying to break up with you, but on the other hand, I'm trying to stick with my deen. So somebody in that situation might take him, a year or two to, one, maybe convince his wife to have a religious marriage, or number two, just be able to get away from the sins, of having a girlfriend and falling into that trap. Somebody who smokes weed, for example, as long as you're not interfering with your prayers, it might take you maybe 3 years of smoking in the evenings after you finish praying, but eventually you're going to hit that point where you're going to be like, right, enough is enough. I can't keep doing this. I'm smoking weed in the evening and waking up for Fajr. It doesn't make sense anymore. So at some point you will stop. But the point is, have belief that keep praying, keep coming back to Allah, because eventually all those things will eventually stop. So just don't give up hope. So these were the two revelations: how much we can love Allah and our deen, and number two, the window of forgiveness by Allah, as long as we're monotheistic and believing in one God.
100%. I think just on the topic of like recurring sins, right? We do need to be sincere and hold ourselves accountable, because I do see a lot of Muslims who will almost like pathologically lie to themselves to get away with doing certain things. And then they develop this habit of being a pathological liar, because that becomes an entry point for shaitan. And so we got to be really careful with that, because some of the smoothest and best liars I've ever met are actually Muslim, because they pathologically lie to themselves and have so much experience doing so. And it's such a slippery slope, and it's such a hard habit to unlearn. So that pathological lying might be a habit that takes 3 or 4 years. And with myself, I'm always thinking, what lies am I telling myself? What ways am I contorting the truth to serve my own needs, as opposed to standing up for the full truth, even if it costs me something, for the sake of Allah, and also for the sake of the integrity and what that brings in this life, and the integrity that has, and the trust that builds with others. Everything that is for the sake of Allah has a real world, long-term benefit, and sometimes has a short-term consequence. But just like all the best things in life, and secular self-improvement people will agree with this too, the things that have the most instant gratification on the front end often have the worst consequences on the back end. The things that take the most discipline and sacrifice on the front end often have the best rewards long-term on the back end. So there's a lot of power in that. But I think, when we repent, we do need to be sincere, where it's not just like, oh yeah, smoked weed again, astaghfirullah, anyways, next day same thing, but also that weed or tobacco or alcohol or a number of things are a real addiction. Food is a real addiction, right? And so real addictions sometimes require us to go cold turkey, and sometimes require us to be baby stepped off of it, whatever is appropriate for that particular thing. But be honest with yourself. Your addiction as an entry point for shaitan will cause you to lie to yourself, but don't lie to yourself. Like for myself, I'm actually happy to expose myself in this particular thing with weed, right? Same thing. I realized, okay, hold on a second. This is something I'm engaging in that is not serving me in Islam. And sure, I stop it during Ramadan, but then I go right back after Ramadan. But then I'm like looking forward to it after Ramadan. But then as soon as I do it, I feel guilty and like not good. And I see the negative impact on my energy and my productivity and my focus. And then sure, I get used to it. And then I can rationalize, oh, it's not actually affecting me, but it is affecting you. And you got to be honest about that. And so when I audited myself and I realized this is something I need to stop, but it's a habit I'm in, I said, okay, great. Maybe I can switch from THC to CBD. So it's less psychoactive. So I still get the medicinal effects, but don't get the damaging psychological effects. So little ways to baby step yourself off of something, just like how you got baby stepped onto it. I think the same thing with baby stepping and with the slippery slope and with, being able to sort of forgive yourself and not beat yourself up and get back on. It applies to fitness, business, marriage. Because in fitness, if you screw up on your diet and that becomes a slippery slope, or you skip a workout and you become a slippery slope, and then you beat yourself up for it, and then you spend the next 3 months on a bender, then you wake up 3 months later, 20 pounds fatter, and you wonder what happened. Don't let that happen. It happens once, that's fine. Forgive yourself and go back to your diet the next day. Just like how if you miss a prayer, that's okay, make it up and then go back to praying the next day. Don't let it be a slippery slope where your identity is then affected by your mistakes, because that's an entry point for shaitan, where identity is affected by your mistakes. Let's say you have a day in business where you don't execute at the highest level, or you execute or you miss one of your time blocks or whatever it may be inside of your business. You miss an action item, you miss a deadline. That's okay. Make it up, forgive yourself, and don't beat yourself up. Don't just go down a path where you're depressed about your business for the next 3 months like a victim, and you wake up 3 months later and you're broke. You don't want that to happen either. So, or same with your marriage. Let's say you and your partner have an argument and you guys resent each other for the next 3 months or for the rest of your marriage, and it just becomes this toxic marriage. No, let's have a real honest conversation. Your partner needs to be on board, and as a man, you got to be a leader. And that's probably actually the next topic I'd love to dive into, is how leadership as a Muslim applies to your marriage. And I'm not sure if you're married or not, but I'd love to hear your perspective on that. But same thing, you get in a fight with your partner, you get into an argument with your kid, when you hold your son or daughter accountable for something they did that is out of alignment with Islam or in their own best interest in the dunya, and then your kid rebels, and then you have a fight. Well, how do you make that up and not let it be a slippery slope that damages the relationship, just like how you don't want to damage your relationship with food and exercise, your relationship with Allah, your relationship with your business? So I think all these things are really powerful. And if you want to add anything on that, I'd definitely love to hear it, but I'd also love to hear your perspective on like leadership, marriage, and Islam as well.
So, alhamdulillah, one of the reasons that I was, when I first actually started Muslim Emir, it was to intertwine leadership at home as well, and to help families and people understand that, you know, leadership within the family, how important it is. Because again, you know, as Muslims, we're going to refer back to the Sunnah. If people understood, and this was actually something when I went Umrah in Medina, they have 3 museums: one for Quran, one for Allah, one for the Prophet ﷺ. And when we were in the museum of the Prophet ﷺ, some of the things were just amazing. And I remember I was with my brother, and one of the most surreal things that we learned about the Prophet ﷺ was his kindness to his wives, the way he looked after them, what he did. And we just looked at each other and were like, wow, modern day man, Muslim or non-Muslim, in our culture, whether you're Arabic, Asian, African, whatever other cultures that are, you know, predominantly Muslim, we have a stereotype of what women should be like and how we should treat our women. The Prophet ﷺ used to help his wives with the cleaning, with the cooking, with all of the things. He was very romantic, took great care of them. When they had their, you know, menstrual cycles and stuff, he was very attentive, very caring. So you're like, subhanallah, this is how we should be with our families. With children, there's a hadith of one of the Sahaba where his son came and tried to show him love, I believe, or, you know, there was an altercation with the child, and the Prophet ﷺ said to the Sahabi, why are you being like that with your son? He was like, oh, I didn't know that we could show love. He was like, no, of course, show love, give hugs and give kisses to your children. So again, this is why we need to look. There's the saying that says, knowledge without action is just pointless. Action without knowledge is dumb, right? And what we do as Muslims a lot of the times, we have action without knowledge. A lot of us, the way that, even maybe the way that we're raised, watching our grandparents and our parents treat each other, is culturally. And this is actually a good point I want to raise as well, is that don't confuse Islam with culture. Religion and culture, 2 different things. As a universal religion, Islam is practiced one way. However, culturally is interpreted and implemented differently. If I was to go marry a Pakistani, there are certain things culturally they want in the wedding. Islamically, the wedding is one way. The dowry, because I know Asians, the men get paid, right? I know a few Pakistani friends, I think it's Pakistanis, the families end up paying the man, right? The woman's side pays for that, but that's not the religion. The religion is you have to pay, you know, to the woman's family, and it's for the woman specifically. It's not to her family, it's for her, you know. And it's not that you're buying her at a price. No, you're giving her money so that she can, yeah, so no, a lot of people mistake in this. You're giving her money so that she can buy things to prepare to move into your house. So yes, you're giving her money, but essentially that money's kind of coming back to you, because she's going to be buying things, nice clothes for herself, for you to look nice, some, you know, fragrances, some, all of this stuff is, you know. And, you know, I think this misconception of culture and religion, we need to just kind of just be aware of that. But yeah, going back to being leaders in our families, look, our children are watching us all the time, okay? And they don't learn from what we say, they learn from what we do. And growing up, I mean, I'm the eldest of 9, and I see it because my younger siblings, a lot of them grew up watching me be in a certain way. And now they're adults and I'm trying to teach them a different way of life, but they behave how they saw me behave when they were growing up. And then it's like, well, you did this, why can't we now? You know, let us live our lives, kind of thing. And the same thing with your children. You could let's say you're a smoker as a dad, and you smoke in front of your child. But every time you smoke in front of him, you're like, don't smoke, it kills, it's bad for you. He's registered you're smoking. He doesn't register all the negative words that you're saying of it harms, it does this. No, because he saw you smoke. So why would you smoke if it's harmful? How do you treat your wife in front of your children? And behind closed doors, but important in front of your children. I always say this to families. Wives and husbands need to treat each other a certain way in front of their children. Why? 2 reasons. Firstly, your kids are watching and they learn from you how to treat their future spouse and how to be treated by their spouse. If you as a father, as a husband, is always showing love to your wife in front of your children, gentle kisses, hugs, soft words, helping around the house, your children will learn, your daughter will learn that that's how a husband should behave, and your son will learn that's how a husband should behave. If you're always arguing in front of each other, if you're always, even if you're joking, saying harmful things about one another, being rude. I know a lot of couples, they have that, banter, where it's like, in front of the children, they'll swear at each other, or they'll get the child to swear at the mum. Or, they have that kind of like, it's funny, right? It's funny. But that child grows up thinking, this is how I should treat women, right? And then they learn to either hate women or disrespect women, and vice versa. The daughter's raised to be like, me being mistreated by men is normal. It's okay. My mom was mistreated. I was mistreated. And this also comes back to how you're going to treat. The second point is how to treat your child themselves. The stories that you feed them. Before you go to bed, rather than reading them Pinocchio every night, why don't you read them stories of all the prophets, alayhim salam. One of my biggest things is when I learned about the stories of all the prophets. And I watched these short 20-minute videos on YouTube about each one of the prophets that came from Adam down, alayhi salam, and understood all their stories. And I was like, wow, subhanallah. Because now when you read the Quran, you're like, oh, that's his story, and that's his story. And, we have all these in the Quran. We have. So why are we, let's say, for example, my house, we were raised on a lot of the Disney stuff, and that's pretty normal. So a lot of our daughters grew up wanting to be Cinderella or, one of the princesses. A lot of the guys want to grow up being, I don't know, Action Man or whatever. And it kind of, if we teach them, how to behave, be a certain way, it's great. And also one last point I want to touch on families, inshallah, because I want to kind of go back to business in a minute, is with our daughters especially. In Islam, women and females are treasure. You enter Jannah under your mother's feet. You enter Jannah through the way you treat your wife, and you enter Jannah on how you raise your daughter. The hadith says, Ummak, thumma ummak, thumma ummak, thumma abik. Your mother, your mother, your mother, then your father. If you have 3 daughters and they're all righteous daughters, that's the way into Jannah. It's all around the women. We as men need to understand, first of all, how much and how important women are in our deen. And number 2, how to teach our daughters to have that value of being respected. Our women wear a headscarf and wear a hijab. Why do they wear it? If you ask 80% of Muslim girls, why are you wearing your hijab? Oh, my dad told me to. Do you love your hijab? No, not really. It's uncomfortable. Okay, but why? Knowledge. There's no knowledge. There's just the action. But there's no knowledge. So you need to teach your children, why is it important? Why is it important? And if you ask a lot of non-Muslim women, they suffer a lot through the abuse they receive, whether it's physical, psychological, the eyes, the stares, and they feel uncomfortable. And a lot of non-Muslim women actually like the idea of being covered up, not because of the attention of man, but because of the self-respect they're giving themselves, right? You can modestly dress, have that confidence, and actually, you get more respect as a man naturally. When you see a woman modestly dressed, you're the tone of voice that you speak in changes automatically. If she's dressed a certain way where she's revealing a lot, you are a man, your intention is very clear, right? So again, when it comes to our daughters, as a leader in the family, you want to just give them the knowledge of, look, it's your choice to wear the hijab. It's your choice. But I want to teach you as much as possible why you should be wearing it. That's very important as the father and as the mother, because obviously Muslim leaders come in both forms. And I just want to very quickly just very quickly for the Muslim ummah to remind them that a woman in Islam has had rights from the minute Islam came. A Muslim woman has more rights than a modern day Western woman, just to let you know. So just because in Saudi Arabia or whatever Arab region, they don't allow women to drive or whatever, all these nonsense rules. That's culture, not religion. Because in religion, a woman is allowed to go to war. In religion, a woman is allowed to have business. The Prophet's wife, the first wife he had, والسلام, was a businesswoman, was one of the most successful businesswomen of his region. That's actually how he met her. He done business for her. She liked his honesty and integrity, so they got married. Women, if you look at Muslim history in terms of sciences and all of that, they all studied and were masters in academia. So don't, for the Muslim women that might be watching this as well, or for the Muslim brothers that have women in their family, don't limit them for what they can do and what they can achieve. Your woman is not just a housewife. If she wants to be a housewife, that is the hardest job anyway, to raise up your children and look after your husband and keep the house under a certain way of being. But if your daughter wants to go and excel in academia, if your daughters want to start a business, if your daughters want to do anything, you as a good Muslim man and as a leader of your household, support them, as long as it's obviously within reason, within the guidelines of Islam, inshallah.
Wow, subhanAllah. That's powerful. And that gets me thinking a lot too, because I think it's so important, like, that we raise our kids to be well equipped to handle themselves as Muslims inside of modern society. And I think there's a lot of things, and I'll just briefly touch on this point and we can go back to talking about business, inshallah. But, I think obviously as we look at ourselves and the example we set for our kids, we want to be excelling at all sort of 4 quadrants of life, right? We want to be excelling in our faith, our spiritual health, our mental health and emotional health, just everything mind and spirit related, our way of being. We want to excel physically, where we make ourselves healthy and engage in healthy habits, and obviously look good and carry ourselves with self-respect because we're in integrity with our deen and with our health. And then the third thing is obviously to have a great marriage and treat our wife, kids, other relationships in life with the greatest standard possible. And then of course in business, to be successful, and the confidence, alignment, and integrity that brings allows you to carry yourself with a certain energy that's going to make your kids look up to you and make people look up to you, where your kids aren't going to be pulled to look up to other, figures in society that don't have their best interests or morals in mind. And I've talked about this in a previous video, but if you as a Muslim man or anybody watching this is out of shape, unconfident, haven't developed your communication skills and your speaking skills as a Muslim, to not just communicate the deen, which is part of the benefit of doing that, but to also level yourself up in your ability to create success and influence others in a positive direction and everything else that's going to help you in your life. Then if your kid wants to be confident and wants to be able to have those same sort of strengths inside of their life, they're not going to be able to look up to you. And so what ends up happening is, especially like your sons, one of the journeys as a man is to discover your self-confidence. And if you don't have a confident father to look up to because the father neglected to do that work on himself, then he's going to have to find examples in other people in society, many of whom are these celebrities who are caught up in all kinds of sex scandals, drug scandals, all kinds of scandals. And so they start to idealize people who don't have integrity. And so then your kids are going to go down a journey of pain and loss and emptiness and being out of alignment with Islam. So I think that's a powerful motivator for a lot of Muslim fathers I speak to, and just fathers overall, is to be the best example possible for their kids, so their kids don't grow up to face the exact same pain and problems they're facing and repeat this vicious cycle of whatever that pain may be. And then same with the daughters, so many women in today's society accept being treated like poorly and will actually get rid of a guy who treats them well because they're used to being treated poorly, and it doesn't feel real if they're treated poorly, and they'll walk all over the guy who treats them well. And so do you want your daughter to be that guy and only be capable of being attracted to a guy who treats her like terribly? That's not how you want your daughters to grow up. And it's difficult because you got to find a wife who's able to embody that too. And in today's society, a lot of women, especially secular non-Muslim women, are conditioned to respond well to being treated poorly. And so you got to be able to filter for yourself and find a wife who's going to be able to raise your daughters to be virtuous. And I think a lot of us, if we want to do things the halal way, but we as men have a sex drive, a lot of us rush into marriage. And that's been a temptation for me, is to either rush into marriage or engage in, doing things the non-halal way. And so to have that patience, it's so hard. It's probably one of the hardest things in this world. But if you can have that patience and be in integrity and develop your speaking skills, your integrity, your self-confidence, your ability to hold your power instead of giving it away to the first person who tugs at you and gives you some sort of temptation, if you can hold that power and integrity within yourself as a man and build that skill within yourself as a man, it may take a long time. You might not get married until you're 32, but at least you will find somebody who aligns with your path. And maybe some Muslim brothers will be skeptical of this. And I don't know how many people are single in our audience, but it can be very tempting. And maybe you have to make the mistakes of having your heart broken by women who you're hoping you can build something with who aren't Muslim. But eventually you'll face enough pain if you go down the wrong path that you'll be kind of forced to correct yourself to the right path. And sometimes it's hard to take someone's word for it. Sometimes you have to go make those mistakes for yourself. I'm not saying go engage in anything that's not halal, but that was at least how I found my appreciation for what is halal, is by attempting to do things the non-halal way and seeing the heartbreak, emptiness, and pain that brings, and realizing I want to align myself to Islam and find a Muslim wife who I can build a great marriage with and treat well and have her respond well to it, instead of having to play games with her and get her chasing me and whatever to have a good dynamic. So I think it's so important that we
you asked me a question, sorry, just to cut you up, but you did ask me if I was married. So I'm actually engaged, alhamdulillah. And just to back up what you just said, 100% going the halal way and finding the woman for the sake of Allah is the best thing that you can do. I even went through the arranged route, and arranged marriage isn't what people think it is. It's literally you're both in control, you both make the decision, and you both have your Islamic dates where you get to know each other. It's just arranged in the sense of your mother goes and does the looking for you. So it saves you time and energy. But yeah, I highly recommend it, highly suggest to all the Muslim men out there to definitely go the Islamic way. Just to, and even if you find a woman that's not Muslim outside of Islam and you find her through work, keep it a halal relationship. Don't fall into the intercourse and other things, especially if you're serious about her and you know that your feelings are true and her feelings are true towards you. Then just make it a marriage, and Allah will bless that marriage for you, inshallah.
Inshallah, yeah, and just having that blessing in marriage. As I go on this journey myself, and I talk to Muslims who are married, because that's who you want to listen to, is somebody who has a happy marriage. Because let's say you go talk to a Western dating coach, they may be able to give you advice that is practical to their truth. But if you want the truth of how to find the result that you want, which is obviously to have a great marriage, you want to talk to people who have a good marriage, who are your age, who are fresh in their marriage. You can talk to people who have 20 years plus in a happy, great marriage. And when you talk to those people, that's what you learn, is that by not having sex before marriage, you bring blessing to that marriage, versus there's a lot of Muslims who do have sex before marriage. And I'm not saying that all their marriages are cursed. I'm just saying, if you want that blessing in your marriage to be the best possible, you got to do it the right way. And that can be hard to hear, but it's just the truth. And that's one of the sacrifices that you need to make as a Muslim that actually benefits you in the long run, and just like everything else. But yes, taking it back to, unless there's anything else you want to cover there, I'd love to take it back.
I just wanted to clear up something you just said, just in case there are Muslim men that have fornicated and then wanting to get married. Just to clear up what you just said there, that even if you have done that and you've sincerely come looking for a wife for the sake of Allah to keep you away from the haram of fornicating, then you inshallah will have a blessed marriage. However, if you're in it for the wrong reasons and you still have the intention to commit some adultery or even cheat on your wife or anything like that, then of course your marriage will not succeed. If you continue to look at other women, your marriage will not succeed. If you continue to, watch pornography and other things when you're with your wife, living under the same roof, then of course your marriage will not be a blessing. So just in case there are there are Muslim men who have fornicated and are looking to get married, I would just say make your intentions pure for the sake of Allah. That way your marriage will be blessed. Just to clear up what you just said, because just because you fornicate doesn't mean you're not going to have a blessed marriage as a Muslim, but make sure that your intentions are pure for that woman and for that relationship, and make it for the sake of Allah, and Allah will bless it. I just wanted to clear that up in case people misunderstood what we were saying.
Jazakallah khair. No, I'm glad you cleared that up, because this is the area I have the least expertise. Would be like, as I get into this, zone, I want to make sure I'm saying the right thing. So I appreciate that. And I guess, there's a lot to unpack on that topic. Maybe that's a podcast for another time, inshallah. But
100%.
But I think just having that mindset of patience. And I think because one thing I always hate is when people give me theoretical advice, but they don't give me practical steps. So I think the practical step here is, if you're a Muslim man, you want to be able to get married, have a real conversation with your mom about what you're looking for. Like I had a very serious conversation with my mom about this, because my mom has referred me girls before that weren't physically attractive to me. And so I just had a conversation with her about what I actually like. Yes, the emotional connection and the spiritual connection and the logical and intellectual connection are very important, and those things are all part of it. But mom, I also need to be with a woman who is easy on the eyes and who I'm attracted to. That's important in Islam and just in general as well. And after having that conversation, my mom has actually been able to help me with this, and she's happy to help me with this. And she's like, finally, you're asking me this question. I've been waiting. So alhamdulillah, your mom can support you in this, your masjid can support you in this. Talk to good Muslims who can help you with this, because the Muslim community wants to help you. The Muslim community doesn't want you to suffer from loneliness and frustration. The Muslim community wants you to be able to fulfill your deen. So ask, if bear nothing else, ask your mom, your Muslim community, see what help you can get, be specific with what you want. Don't be afraid to ask for what you want, and ask Allah for what you want, and inshallah it will come to you.
Just to add, and we'll leave it at this point, just finally, 2 points to make you laugh as well, is that I was very specific, right? With height, size, hair color, all of the things. The more detailed I was, it's like in business, right? The more I niche down on my audience, the more I get rid of the no's that I don't want, right? So I niche down on my wife, and I've got exactly what I wanted. And number 2 is getting married completes half your deen. But in terms of the first point, do not be shy, because like you just said, you need to know what you know as a man what you like. And at the end of the day, this is your wife. You can't get married to someone you don't find attractive. And I always use this point as the point of reference, and it's to make people laugh. But I want my wife to be somebody that when me and her are in the middle of an argument and I'm raging anger, I can still look at her and be like, you're so goddamn beautiful. Because if I'm angry at you and I find you ugly, it's going to make me more angry, right?
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that, you find someone that's aesthetically pleasing, of course. Okay.
Well, you're inspiring me. You're inspiring me in every way today, brother. This is an amazing podcast. But yeah, taking it back to business, I guess, are there any other big ideas within business that you feel our audience should know today from you?
With business, I'm going to just quickly cover some things, inshallah. So number 1, if you're obviously looking to start a business, take the first step. Always take the first step. Don't procrastinate and dwell on it. You have an idea, just go for it. Honestly, it's not going to be easy, guys. Business is not easy. It's so hard. It's so challenging. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, why did I decide to do this? Why not just go get employed and get a paycheck? But also, it's that when you understand that you've created, or someone's bought something that you've made, or a service that you provide, it's the most rewarding feeling. So that's the first step. Don't dwell. Number 2, identify and start a business that you are passionate about. And I talk a lot about this on my programs, but anything that you create is basically passion. Anything you consume is addiction. So I love to read. You're not passionate about reading. You love reading, right? But because it's a consumption, some people would say it falls under the term of addiction, right? But anything you create is actually a passion. And with identifying your passions when it comes to business, I've tried many things. Like, I'm passionate about football, I was passionate about events, I was passionate about this, I was passionate about that. But essentially, you want your work or your business to not feel like it's work. Yes, it is work, of course it is. But you don't want to wake up and go, I got to go and do work. You want to wake up and say, okay, amazing. Like, I excel in these 3 areas. I'm so focused on this. The stuff that I find challenging, I either get help from, I get assistance, I outsource it. If you have the money, just outsource somebody to do the things that you're not good at. But essentially, when it comes to starting a business you're passionate about, I just want to highlight to you something that you think you're passionate about. When you have to work it, becomes not a passion anymore. You're like, I actually don't enjoy this as much as I thought. So just be aware of this. And number 3, guys, and I've already kind of covered this just a moment ago, business is challenging. Don't expect to go into business and make a quick buck. You're not. You're going to have months where you make 0 sales. You're literally borrowing money from friends to pay rent. And then you're going to have months where you're really successful and you're really up and you're making 5-6 figures, and you're like, whoa, how did I get hit? And the final point I want to say is, in business, be aware how you spend your money and how you manage your finances, knowing what's coming in, what's going out, and where you should spend it. It is something that is very challenging. It is something that's very difficult, and a lot of business owners struggle with this, a lot of them. So I struggled with it, and one of the biggest learning curves I had is where I invested a lot of my money in the wrong areas, and we ended up, going broke. So that's one area that I would definitely, focus on. So the just to kind of just wrap that up very quickly, the 4 things that you wanna pay attention to is taking the first step, identifying something that you're passionate about, and going for it, managing your finances, and what was the other one that I said? Actually, my mind's gone blank.
I think you had talked about managing your finances, but I think, I don't know if you made the 4th point yet.
Okay, so yeah, take the first step, and identifying something that you're passionate about, managing your finances. There was a 4th one I mentioned, but it will come back to me in a moment. I'll just slip my mind.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think that's so important because, like, whether you're already in business or whether you're starting one, tracking finances can be one of the toughest things for entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs, we have a lot of ADD and we have a lot of passion. We love speaking and talking with people and doing sales and creating content and talking with our clients. But to sit down and put the numbers in a spreadsheet, it can be outsourced when you get to a certain point where it makes financial sense to just hire somebody to take care of that. But you are going to have to do your own accounting. And that's definitely a struggle for me, because I don't really like tracking stuff. I just like to do stuff. But again, action without knowledge is dumb, and you don't want to be dumb in business, because then you can quickly go broke if you're not managing your cash flow properly. So that's an ongoing journey for me. And just like we said before, if you find yourself making a recurring mistake, you got to be able to just audit yourself Islamically and, in every way to make sure that you're doing it properly. And then you can start to get yourself back on track. And so for me, part of the journey with that has been financial, for sure. But yeah, just taking that first step is very powerful. And if you're already experienced in business, for instance, for me, I've been doing fitness coaching for a very long time, but finally doing the thing I've been thinking about for 3 years and niching down with modern Muslims has really helped me to just get back in integrity with myself. And so, again, and see better results in business. So I just think there's a lot to unpackage there. And I think, if you guys want any specific help on this, definitely talk to Osama or talk to myself. Because there's definitely, every business is so different, just like how every body's different when it comes to like consulting around fitness, to where it does require an individualized approach. And I definitely see Osama as somebody who has that expertise, and I'm happy I will probably be coming to him with my business stuff and moving forward, inshallah, as well, because he's got a lot of knowledge, mashallah. How old are you, by the way, if you don't mind my asking?
28.
28, mashallah. I'm 27. We both seem older. That's great. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Mashallah.
Life, isn't it? You go through experiences and journeys.
Yes.
And
being an entrepreneur kind of puts you through a time warp of like that much more experience, because there's in one day you have a whole year's worth of problems, but alhamdulillah,
yes,
the more you solve, the more value you create, the more character you build. So
that's it. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Well, anything else you wanted to dive into or cover today on this podcast?
I just wanted to say, Jazakallah khair for having me on. May Allah bless you and your endeavors. May Allah bless all the listeners that are listening to this. Inshallah, they found great value. I know we focused a lot on the deen element, but alhamdulillah, I'd love to come on another podcast with you. We've got so much to discuss. It's hard to cram it into one.
Yes.
But I just wanted to say, may Allah bless your endeavors, and I'm so happy that you're working with just the Muslim niche now. And this is why I started Muslim Emir, is I believe that the Muslim Ummah should come together. There's enough of us to work with one another and to build the Ummah the right way. And the Muslim niche is growing. It's, people are more alert now that the Muslim niche is big audiences. It's a big audience, and, it's a big consumer. We are a big consumer. Take the ideology of Muslims don't like spending money out of your head, because if it's for the right thing, they will spend the money. So, for me personally, I love working with Muslims because it helps me with my deen. Like if me and you now need to go and pray, we'll be like, okay, just 5 minutes, let's go pray and come back. When we're fasting, we can understand each other's struggles, and so on and so forth. So, but yeah, I just want to say, may Allah bless you in your business and your endeavors, and may Allah bless all the listeners as well.
Absolutely. And I would love to do another podcast as well. So if you guys are watching this right now, drop a comment, let us know what you want us to cover in a future podcast, whether it's any of the topics we went into today. Do you have any specific questions on that we could even answer in the DMs right now? Or do an in-depth video for the benefit of others who may be interested in the same question. We're definitely happy to address those, and we want to serve you in the best way possible. As you can see, between the two of us, there's a lot of knowledge and a lot of help and service that we can give you. We want to give you that service, and it gives us content ideas to benefit even more people. So please let us know in the comments. But yeah, Jazakallah khair. Inshallah, I'm looking forward to having you on another podcast. And that's it, guys. Let us know in the comments. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and of course, share this with other Muslims who you think would benefit from this. Share it everywhere you possibly can. Share it with your family. Share it with anybody who could learn from this, because if you share it with your family and friends, you get the same blessings from Allah, obviously, for sharing the knowledge that we've shared with you, but also you're going to see your friend or your family or member or whoever it is excel in applying this knowledge as well. And that's a great reward in the dunya as well. Alhamdulillah. Well, anyways, brother, assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much again, Jazakallah khair, for being here. I'll see you guys in the next one.